Hi everybody, welcome to Lesson 5, Quiz to Explanation. Now in this quiz there is one passage and all the questions are based on that. The passage is very long and in some ways this is like the new GED. The old GED passages were generally quite short and the new GED passages tend to be quite long. This passage would be maybe a shorter but it would be more similar of the new GED. You will get passages that are longer than this as well. Sometimes you get maybe two passages about this length, and you'll have to compare them. So one thing to know that as we are practicing at the beginning with shorter passages, before your exam, you will have to get used to working with longer passages. But let's go and have a look together. So question number 1, who or what is the demon? According to this excerpt, is the demon Ishi? Is it a train? Is it Waterman? Or is it a trolley car? Well, firstly, let's try to find the word demon. And it's right there in the first sentence. So maybe we should read this first paragraph and see if we get any clues. The black face of the white man's demon rushed toward the platform. So the demon is moving towards the platform. A platform is where transportation might leave from, a bus platform or a train platform. So perhaps we're looking at answer B or D, not a person. Pouring out clouds of sparks and smoke. So we're getting smoke from the demon. Well, smoke might come out of an old train. Maybe you've seen an old train where they had to use charcoal, where they had to burn the charcoal and the smoke came out of the top. And it filled the ears with a hollow, moaning voice. Mill Creek and Deer Creek were within range of that voice. Twice a day, Ishi had heard it since he could remember. Now, Ishi heard the voice of the demon. So the demon cannot be Ishi for sure. And he had watched the train hundreds of times. He watched the train. He heard it, the voice of the demon, and he watched the train hundreds of times as it snaked along below him, bellowing and bleaching. His mother had reassured him as a boy when he was afraid of it, telling him it was a demon. He was afraid of it. What was he afraid of? He was afraid of the train. But his mother told him it was a demon. So the demon is a description of the train. Now, this might kind of give you a clue. We're talking about Native American Indians. Today, Ishi wondered, he had not been so near it before. It was larger and noisier and speedier than he had realized. Would the demon know that he was an Indian? So would the train know that he was an Indian? This is the first time that he's been onto a train. Maybe for some of you, it would be like coming out of a refugee camp, going to live in Maysot, and going to Tesco Lotus, going on the escalator, the moving floor that takes you up from the ground to the first floor. Maybe you step on there with a little bit of fear the first time, a little bit anare, because you've never done it before. Well, he has those same kind of emotions as he prepares to go on the demon or on the train. Question number 2. Which of the following techniques is used in this excerpt? It is written as if the author knows what Ishi is thinking, as if Ishi himself were telling the story, as if Ishi had written it like a diary, or as if the author does not understand the way that Ishi feels. Now let's deal with answer B and answer C first. If you write something yourself, then you would say I. For example, if I'm writing about myself, I might say I am recording a video now. I would not say that Steve is recording a video now. If I'm talking about myself, I use I. And the same if I'm writing a diary. A diary is a memory of what I did that day or what I did that year. Now let's look at the passage. Well, it says, is she wondered? I would not say Steve wondered. I would say I wondered. But the passage says, is she wondered? He had not seen it before. Would the demon know that he was Indian? He was wearing white man's clothes. His hair was short like theirs. Now, we have these third person pronouns. When we're talking about he, we're talking about somebody else. We don't use the pronoun he to describe ourselves. So that means that we can take away answer B and answer C. So what's the difference between A and D? A says the author knows what Ishii is thinking. D says the author does not understand the way that Ishii is feeling. Well, Ishii is wondering something that's thinking it. He wonders, would the demon know who he was? That's what he's thinking. So these are not things that he's saying, these are things that he is thinking. Then it says that the train did not leave its tracks. He is thinking, he is noticing. So we have a few examples about what Ishii is thinking. And if we read the passage in more detail, we'll get more of that. But this all suggests that answer A is correct. Based on the information in the excerpt, which of the following best describes how the author, that's the person writing, feels about the subject, which is about Ishii? Is the author afraid, confused, sympathetic, or bored? Now, so far we've had a paragraph about why Ishii calls the train a demon. Now we have some information about Ishii being afraid. Would the train know that he's a human? So Ishii obviously thinks that the train is alive, and he sees the white man and not afraid, and he says he's gone too far, so he cannot stop now, he must continue. Well, paragraph 1 says that Ishii is afraid, but that does not say that the author is afraid. So we can take away answer A. Confused? Well, confused would not make sense. Confused means does not understand. But the author does know what Ishii is thinking. The author knows what Ishii is afraid of. The author knows that he is going to continue. The author understands what Ishii is thinking, saying, doing. So that suggests that confused is wrong. So we need to think about either sympathetic or bored. Well, the author does explain that, like all Indians, Ishii knew there was the destination of the Creeks, but like all the others, he was vague about how the journey actually happened. And then he was sorry to leave the train at Oakland Mall. So the author explains why Ishii is so confused. He's never left there before. The author shows that at the end, he quite enjoyed the journey. He was sorry to leave the train that he was afraid to get on just a couple of hours before. So I don't think the author is bored about the topic. The author is explaining in detail, and the author is giving reasons. The author shows that the mother was the one that called it the demon first, that Ishii has never left that area before, that no Indians have left that area before. I would say the author is being sympathetic. Now, the description of the train in the excerpt accomplishes the following. It explains why the white men like trains. Is there reasons why the white men like them? It emphasizes that the train seemed alive. Does it show that trains are evil? Or is it the beauty and the power of technology? Well, let me say that technology is very broad, and a lot of this is about traveling, especially traveling by train. So I think answer D could probably be removed. It's going to be too broad. It's not talking about technology in general, but the train in particular. So take away answer D. So is it why white men like trains? Is it about the train being alive? Or is it that the train is evil? Well, let's look at the passage for a few details. It says about the black face of the white men's demon, which is the train. And then it talks about the voice. Sorry, there is a spelling mistake there. It should be V-O-I-C-E, the sound of the voice. So the train has a voice. People have voices. Things that are alive have a voice. My table, my chair does not have a voice because they're not alive. And then bellowing and belching. Belching like is burping, letting air come out from your stomach. Again, these are actions of somebody that is alive. And then a demon who followed white men. Following people is a decision of somebody who is alive. So all of these details emphasize that the train seems to be alive. There's nothing about the train being evil. Even though it's called a demon, there's nothing bad about the train, and there's no reasons why the white men like it. This is an example of personification. Personification means you give living descriptions to things that are not alive. So the idea of having a voice and a face and following, these are all human choices or human descriptions. Which of the following best describes Ishi? He often misses his mother. He tries to avoid unfamiliar situations. He believes whatever others tell him, or he had never expected to ride a train. We have to be very careful with these answers. We do have things like often, so this is more than one time. In B, it's plural situations, not one situation. C, whatever others, plural, tell him, so anything that people tell him. Only D is specifically about a train. So even if A, B, and C are true sometimes, we would need to ask, are they true always? Let's have a look at the passage. Now, it does say his mother had reassured him as a small boy when he was afraid of it, telling him that a demon followed the white men wherever they went, but Indians had no fear of it because it never bothered them. So she is saying the train is not to do with the Indians, it only follows the white men. It does talk about his mother there, but it does not say that he misses his mother. There is the idea of him believing, though. If we go to the next paragraph, he's asking, will the demon know that he was an Indian? That he's wearing white men's clothes, his hair is cut like theirs, he looks quite similar, and so he decides to watch from a distance, from a tree or a bush, until he was sure that what his friend said was true, until he was sure that the demon would always stay on its tracks. So he stepped behind a cottonwood tree along the platform. He did not believe what his friend had told him. His friend told him the train will always stay on the tracks, but he was not sure. So he wanted to hide behind a tree until he was sure. So he did not believe straight away. So he does not always believe what other people tell him. There's nothing else about his mother, so we can remove answer A as well. Now, does he try to avoid unfamiliar situations? Well, no. Here, he is going on a train. And then later, he is going on another thing. Later, there are further wonders. He will have a ferry trip, and then he'll go for a ride in a trolley car. So he's going to do several things that are unfamiliar. He is not trying to avoid these things, so we can take away answer B as well. Correct answer is D. He has never done it before, but we can guess he had never expected to do it either. His mother told him the train has nothing to do with Indians. He's a little bit afraid. He doesn't really understand about the train. He thinks that the train is a demon. He thinks the demon is alive. You could say he's anare. He's reluctant to go on the train. He had never expected to ride a train. No one had. None of the Indians near him had gone anywhere else. Like all the inland Indians, Ishi knew the destination of his home, but like the other Indians, he was unsure about the river journey because people had not seen that. So D is the best answer. For which of the following does the phrase hollow moaning voice of the first paragraph most likely refer? Let's find that first. It comes after the word its. So we need to know what is it. The black face of the white man's demon, the train, rushed toward the platform, pouring out clouds of sparks and smoke. So smoke is coming out of the train and filling the ears with its. Well, it is belonging to the demon. Hollow, moaning voice. So the voice is belonging to the train. So it's not the noise of the passengers, so take away answer A. And it's not the smoke. The smoke would be something that you can see, something that you can smell, but not something that you can hear. So take away C as well. So is it the noise of the train whistle, or is it the clank, the noise of the train wheels? Well, it's a little bit difficult, but when a train goes into the station, then it would blow its whistle. So the correct answer would be the hooting of the train whistle. This is a moaning voice. Moaning may be screaming, and a whistle might be like a screaming sound. The clank of the train wheels would be like beating two pots together or two pans together. It would be quite a dull sound, not a moaning sound. But you're on the right lines if you chose B. It's very difficult to see the difference between B and D. You do need a noise, and you do need something that belongs to the train. Now, this type of question was very popular on the old GED, but not so popular on the new GED. Based on this excerpt, Ishi would be most likely have which of the following reactions to a ride in a taxi cab. So we have to take something that we already know and apply it to a new situation. So, answer A, resistance, not want to do it. Answer B, excitement at another new experience. C, disappointment that the taxi does not move as fast as the train. Or D, a desire. Now, if we think about what we've seen, he had committed himself and he was too far to turn back, nor did he wish to do so. He did not wish to turn back. He would follow his new friend. He would go on to the train. And later, we see in the passage, he was sorry to leave the train, but there were further wonders ahead. Wonders is a very positive word. A ferry trip across the bay to San Francisco, and then a ride in a trolley car to the museum. So we have the idea of wonders, of a ferry trip, of a trolley car, the idea of being willing to follow. So there's nothing about getting a job as a train driver. We take away answer D. There's nothing about the speed that he really likes. So it says here about a long ride, not a quick ride. We can take away answer C. So does he resist trying to do it? Well, he talks about further wonders. He's talking about a long ride in a trolley car. He seems to be quite excited. He is sorry to leave the train. He enjoyed riding on the train. Therefore, the best answer would be an excitement about another new experience, because this is positive, whereas answer A is negative. And we can see that he did not wish to stop means he is willing to go. That's positive. Sorry to leave the train. That means he had a positive experience. And wonder, wonderful. So another positive word. Even though at the beginning he seems to be quite afraid, later he seems to be quite excited by these new experiences. Question 9. Based on the excerpt, which of the following is the best explanation of why the train route is important to Ishii. It will be the only time that he ever rides in a train. Well, he's going to the museum. So presumably, he will have to go back to his village. So probably he will ride in a train again. So let's take away answer A. It gives him time to get to know Waterman, but during the trip, he sat very quietly. He's not talking very much. If you're going to get to know somebody, you would need to talk to them. So I don't think it's about getting to know Waterman. C, it lets him experience the journey of the rivers and the creeks. Or D, it allows him to experience new technology. So let's have a look. What does it mention? You just say that the speed of the train is exciting. But then, what else does it say? Well, he goes across the straits, the rivers. Waterman points out that where the Sacramento and the San Joaquin rivers flow, and they flow into the bay. Like all inland Indians, Ishii knew that such was the destination of the creeks of his river home, but like the other landers, he was vague. He did not know about the river journey, how it was accomplished, for his informants had known of it only traditionally, and at many removes from anyone who had seen it themselves. So he'd only heard about it from people that heard about it from people that heard about it. He's never seen it himself, and he's never spoken to anybody who's seen it. So the last one, the idea about new technology, might be true, but that's not what the focus is. The author has almost half a paragraph talking about the journey of the water and about how Ishii did not know the route the water took. So if the author spends so many lines talking about the flow of the river, this must be an important idea. So we can take answer C. Last question. Based on the information in the excerpt, why does Ishii ask himself if the demon would know he was an Indian? Well, his mother said that Indians do not need to be afraid of the train. Today, Ishii wondered, as he'd not seen it before, would the demon know that he was an Indian? Let's read the next sentence. He was wearing white men's clothes and his hair was short like theirs. So he's wondering, will the train know that he's an Indian? His mother had said that Indians do not need to be afraid of it. But now he is wearing the clothes of a white man and his hairstyle is like the white man hairstyle. So A, Ishii believes that the demon hated Indians is not correct. Ishii believed that the demon, the train, followed the white men, but Indians did not need to be afraid of it. B, Ishii wanted the demon to notice him. I think that's the opposite. He does not want the demon to notice him. In fact, he hides. When the demon drew up beside the station, Ishii was a little bit afraid. And because he was afraid, he went to hide behind the tree. So he's not wanting the train to notice him. Ishii wanted the demon to think he was a white man. Well, if Ishii wanted to be mistaken for a white man, that means that he would expect the train to follow him as well. So then he would also need to be afraid. The idea is that because he's an Indian, he does not need to be afraid. So he does not want the train to follow him. His mother said the Indians do not need to be afraid. His mother also said that the demon only followed the white men. It says the white men were the ones that should have the most reason to be afraid. So Ishii does not want the demon to follow him. Answer D is correct. Okay, that is the end of this video. Hopefully that's helped you to understand how to find the ideas from the passage by looking at the keywords from the question. We'll go on to the next lesson soon. O sulla sai, Code.